Hey guys, just before the podcast gets started, don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you never miss an upload.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Yellow Square podcast. My name is Ned and I'm joined by my brother James. Welcome back, James. Another sacking. Pretty much a year to the day, isn't it, since we started the podcast with the emergency pod of the Bilic sacking, and we're back pretty much a year later to discuss Valerian Ismael's terminated contract. And I'm not going to tread around this lightly, James. I feel like it's been coming.
Yes. Hello, mate. Hello, everybody. I hope everyone is well. Yeah, it's been coming. This one's been on the cards for a while. I think we'll get into it in a bit more detail. I think the club tried to give him a little bit more time, but results and performances didn't improve, and the writing was on the wall. And now Tom Cleverley has been given the reins until the end of the season, it seems.
Yes.
So, back to square one. It feels it's very difficult not to feel a bit flat and depressed about another managerial sacking. You know what's coming from the media and fans. It's going to be a long week, I suggest. But obviously Val was the 8th longest serving manager in the championship before kickoff. So, a lot of clubs have been changing manager. A lot of clubs below us have been changing manager to try and get things working for them. And I think our slump in form, combined with some other factors, I think, which we can talk about, probably meant that the ownership felt they had to act. To just pull us back up into the safety of mid-table obscurity.
Yes, and that seems like a strange thing to want to have mid-table when speaking about Watford, but that's where we are. That's the cards we've been dealt, and that's what we're here to discuss today. Very briefly, James, Coventry yesterday, another loss at home, and it's interesting because I felt like we started the game really well. We'd moved back into a more direct style of football, a bit more basic, pressing Coventry high up the pitch. It seemed like they'd had a rocket before the game. They were looking feisty, looking up for it, and won the toss and elected to shoot towards the
The Rookery.
The Rookery. Goodness me, I'm
The Rookery.
my mind is completely frazzled today. But yeah, won the toss, elected to shoot towards the Rookery in the first half, and we were rewarded with a goal. And a couple of defensive issues, giving away a penalty and maybe being able to save the second one, and all sorts of stuff happened between then and the end of the game after taking the lead. But ultimately none of that matters now because Ismael is no more at Watford. Now, James, I was forwarded an article this morning by the other James from the Watford Way, our good friend, and it was from Andrew French. And to be honest, I was working yesterday evening, so I actually didn't see the initial tweet from Watford. I was just sent hundreds of messages from my friends reminding me that this is now Watford's 12th manager since September 2019, and that's quite an issue. But this article,
I might say 12th with an asterisk, I might say, because they always include Hayden Mullins.
They love it.
In that list.
Hayden Mullins, don't they?
He was definitely just a placeholder, caretaker manager for 2 games. It wasn't 12 managers; it's 11. So I will challenge anybody on that. You sense the irony in my voice, but
it doesn't really make the
sorry
stat
to
any
interrupt.
better, does it?
It's an important fact which people should understand.
Yeah. Well, this Andrew French article I read this morning. Before that, I was very much another manager. We clearly haven't changed as a club. I've grown increasingly more frustrated with the Pozzos over the past few years, and now I'm very much Pozzo out all this. Sort of agreeing with many people on Watford Twitter. I read this article and it was incredibly damning on the part of Valerian Ismael. So, James, you've read the same article. I'll let you talk through it very briefly.
Happy to, mate. Definitely worth a read for anybody that hasn't seen it yet.
Definitely.
Effectively, what it boils down to is it seems that Valerian was given a lot more leeway this season than previous head coaches in terms of recruitment and in terms of the say on the squad, really. A lot of people have said it's sort of the most the most responsibility on the head coach since Mazzari was in charge.
Yeah.
Now, I think, to be fair, it's probably worth starting this chat by saying what we don't know is Andrew French's source on this. We don't know where this information has come from and who in the club has told him this. But effectively, Val had the say on the players that were signed, how many players in the squad, who could leave, who could come in. And we said this on this pod, didn't we? At this I think it was around the October mark when he actually got his new deal. Discuss which where we said that would be the one thing that kills Val in the long run is his insistence on a small squad, because all it takes is a couple of injuries, a couple of players being out of form, then you're in real trouble. I mean, we were thinking about it from a as we went into the January transfer window, a playoff push perspective, right? Because we were flying. We just thought we need a couple of extra additions to freshen the squad up, and we may be able to carry a bit of form and momentum towards the second half of the year. Now it's looking much bleaker. But so there are lots of useful and interesting quotes. When the board gave Ismael the control of the transfer business in January, Ismael knew the kind of player that he wanted. He wanted a pacey, dynamic forward player, a holding midfielder, and a left-footed centre-back. It sounds a little bit like he had a list of certain names, which the club went to try and get, but that list of names was not particularly long. And when the club said to him, "We can't get these people," he sounds like he turned around and said, "Well, I don't want anyone then." He wanted those people and those people alone. So he missed out on a lot of those signings that we knew that we needed. He'd obviously turned down Dennis in the summer. Possibly a sensible decision because of, you can talk about the reputation, but players coming back, etc., etc. But he eventually got Dennis in the January, which matched the description of the player he wanted, somebody dynamic, pacey, good quality in the forward positions, but we didn't get anybody else. And then, as one of Andrew's quotes is, when he chose to sign just one player and go into the rest of the season with the thinnest squad in the division, Ismael equally did what he thought was right, and sadly for him, the club and us fans, Ismael was wrong. So, effectively the club tried to change this season. Thin down the recruitment squad, reduce the number of voices, put the control back into the head coach, and unfortunately he got it wrong this time around. Or hindsight might say he got it wrong with some of his decisions, which is a shame because I thought Val did so many things right for us as a club. But ultimately this is the thing that that's killed him, because now you look at the squad. Hoots is out for 2 games now with a suspension. Sema's gone. Chakvetadze could have a nasty one. We don't know. That squad is starting to look extremely thin and low on confidence. And all we were asking for in January was probably just a couple of extra players to freshen it up a little bit. And it meant that we ended up having the worst fixture congestion in the Championship, didn't we? In that
Yeah.
7-game run.
Yeah.
And I think, I know it wasn't in the article, but it was on that from the Rookery End pod with Matt Furness as well. Watford are on course to have the most number of minutes played per player. If you take the squad size and average it, since the Championship was formed in 2004. So there's a lot of minutes in the legs of a small squad.
Yes. Yeah.
So
And it's
yeah,
a killer, isn't it?
so it is a killer. It is a killer. So whilst it doesn't, for me, it doesn't change my stance on what I think the problems at the club are, i.e. the ownership, and I think that needs to fundamentally change before progress can be made. Unfortunately, this time around, they've tried something different, and I think Val got it wrong, unfortunately, and I would defy anybody that wasn't a Watford fan to go back and look at the performances in the last 2 months, and not say that the sacking was probably justified.
Yeah, and you mentioned the number of changes managerially wise lower than us in the Championship and all over the Championship. For Valerian to be the 8th most experience in tenure in the Championship, it's that's saying something for Watford, because usually we're right at the bottom of those stats. And there's certainly been a lot of managerial changes this season, and looking at the performances and how it seems like the players are tired, there's no, you can't reflect on it in any other way than just to say, the sacking is probably right. A lot of people have been calling for it to happen on Twitter, and we know that's an echo chamber for some of the most extreme views on Watford, both ways, I'll say. It seemed like it had to happen. Looking at the fixtures as well, they haven't been particularly tough games. You could have argued in October time, when people were feeling the pressure. We just played Leeds away and Sunderland away, and they're tough ones. But we've come up against teams lower than us and winnable games that we've really thrown away, including the past week. Swansea at home and the defeats before that, and Huddersfield at home in particular would have been the downfall for many managers previously. And I guess that kind of shows that we tried to give him more time, tried to give him some time after that massive fixture congestion, 4 week of preparation and whatnot, and it's still not working, despite some rallying in certain areas of games. It's not a complete performance, and ultimately it's led to us sliding down the table, and now we're looking over our shoulder thinking, we could do with a couple of wins and some extra points just to keep us safe between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And the elephant in the room as well with the delay in sacking, I suspect, is financial. And we'll speak about Cleverley in a bit, and I'll come back to this point as well.
Yeah.
There's an element there. I think, the club were really also just trying to see if he could turn it around, because we can't keep sacking
no, it's not a sustainable business
and paying
model,
them off. It's not, especially when you just offered him a new deal in a couple of months previously. So I think that's another factor in the decision making, that they didn't want to basically fork out the money, and I suspect that's possibly a driving factor in why Cleverley has been placed in charge as well.
Yeah.
But we can come back to that and talk about that in a bit. But it's a wider problem. We've spoken about the Pozzo ownership, and I think this only fuels the fire amongst the Watford base for there to be some kind of change, because we've spoken on the pod. We're speaking today. It's very difficult to kind of pick ourselves up and go again. It is draining, and
Very
it is
draining, yeah.
it's draining, it's depressing, and it's just I just want Watford to be stable for a while, have a manager, and just have that connection back with the club a little bit, because it's tough. It's tough to keep doing this, and I think now we've got a squad of players which I think a lot of people like. I like our squad of players. I think they're hardworking. There's technical ability in there, and I think a lot of people thought we finally had a head coach that was getting the best out of those players, and that's drifted away again. We've parted with him, and I just think it rounds back on the ownership and how the club is being run. And I think that will only intensify now.
Yeah, the question for you is now, James, the Potsos have clearly tried to do things differently this time with Valerian, and it worked for a time, and ultimately Valerian, he's cost his own problems really, with his transfer policy and his small squad, and that's down to him, and I'm sure he will be able to take the blame for that. And that's not the Potto's fault. They've obviously given him more space this time to do things. Ismael often commented on the relationship he had with the owners. Didn't feel like he was being micromanaged, and he enjoyed meeting the board every week or so at the training ground just to talk things over. They were very supportive with him. It seems, when Andrew French sort of sat down with Valerian Ismael in November to discuss that sort of stuff. So yeah, it seems like the Potsos did try and do something different this time, and then ultimately results based again has led to another sacking. But looking at the rest of the championship, comparing ourselves to a team like Norwich, who are on a similar sort of path as us in terms of getting promoted and relegated, and sort of underperforming this season up until their uptake in form recently. They were calling for Wagner to go. They've also been calling for, was it Delia Smith to sort of give up the reins in ownership? Yeah. So they're in kind of a similar situation, and they were in a tough period of form, and they were calling for Wagner to go. So if you're comparing those two, I think it's right to sack Ismael. Obviously, the results weren't going well. We weren't playing well, and it really seemed like the squad was struggling in sort of the easier fixtures that we had between then and the end of the season. Obviously, we are known for hire and fire at Watford. Having tried something different now, James, do you think the Potsos try and stick with that with the next appointment in the summer? Or do you think they'll revert to type and continue this sort of manager merry-go-round?
Well, I hope that they have the courage to stick with this, because Potso out, Potso in, Potso change, however you view it, something different needs to happen. And if they do look at it and go, okay, well, we saw some positives. And this is all hypothetical from our perspective. We don't know any of this, obviously. But a lot of the work and a lot of the relationships and a lot of the lessons, I suspect the board and ownership will take from the Valerian era will be unspoken about, because they spoke to the head coach much more frequently and in private, right? So they'll take those lessons privately. But I hope they stick with doing something different. As you said, my concern is, and our concern on here is that they will revert to type. They'll do what they did after Rob Edwards. Oh, that didn't work. We'll go for a young English manager, relatively unproven. Oh, that didn't work. Right, we're going to get a big name in, big in inverted commas. So my worry is that they'll go, right, okay, that didn't work, giving leeway. So we're going to take the leeway back, and we're going to give a head coach a squad of players that we think is good enough.
Yeah. Which obviously doesn't work.
And then we're back
either.
to and that it doesn't work, because then they just decide to sack the manager because they go, oh no, this squad is great, and then everyone is on the sidelines watching is going, this squad is nowhere near good enough.
Yeah.
So you end up back at square one. So I hope they have the courage to go, okay, right, well, let's go and get a head coach in, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to give them the leeway to go in and work out what they want and how they want to play, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Because that might have been the answer. There is no argument to say that Ismael had a good preseason. He was working out the problems with discipline in the squad at the time. He was having assets stripped of him. So he had a small squad, but he had gotten rid of all the big names. So he was trying to gel a side together, trying to bring, peripheral players into the squad and make them
which he did,
sort of your key players. That's what I'm going to say. He was doing a lot of work behind the scenes. Results dipped, but with a fresh squad, with a good pre-season under them, results picked up to a point where we were playing nice football. It was entertaining, it was enjoyable to watch, and we were getting good results up to Christmas. Then, as we've just said, players got tired, players got injured. We didn't sign anybody. We sold players, and it's fallen apart. I'm hoping that the Pozzos at the very least go, well, okay, that did work. Let's put a head coach in with a clear philosophy and a clear style of play. We'll support them with what they want, but then we've now got the sort of the lessons learned from January to go, actually, no, we really do think that we need to strengthen here and here. In other words, back the head coach in the transfer windows. That's what my heart says. My head says they probably won't change because there isn't any money.
Yeah, and that's the big issue, isn't it? They're trying to be debt free by the end of this season. I don't think that's. I don't think sacking a manager's particularly helped that, because it's now a larger fee to pay off, particularly with another deal in place. But at the same time, I'm hoping they have learned some lessons, and they do decide to stick with this philosophy of finding a manager who has a clear style of play, does a lot of work behind the scenes. They can gel with the ownership, and then we kick on from there. But at the same time, like you said, they've learnt the lessons now. They've got that experience, and they can say, look, you have to give us some leeway with transfers. You're in control of it. You pick the people you want, but if you can't get that, you can't just say, I don't want anyone, because we've seen we've seen what's happened. Because ultimately, it was Ismael's stubbornness which has led to the train falling off the tracks, so to speak. Okay then, James. Ismael is now no more at Watford. Tom Cleverley takes over the reins. Now, we mentioned it briefly. It's the cheap option rather than bringing in another Chris Wilder between now and the end of the season, who is more expensive. Cleverley taking the step up from the youth setup into first team management. I'm just going to ask the question, James. How do you feel the rest of the season will go now, bearing in mind we have the thinnest squad in the division and the hardest set of fixtures of the division statistically left to play?
With an interim head coach that we've got absolutely no idea how he's going to play or manage it. I think it's difficult not to be pessimistic about it, but and what I'm hoping will happen is if we don't know how Tom Cleverley is going to set up a side,
no one else in the championship.
Nobody else in the championship is going to know how he's going to set up a side. So there's going to be less WhatsApp messages going around the championship sides. Tom, what do we know about him? Ultra professional, hardworking. He knows the club. He's been at the club for a long time. 2 spells, played a lot of football here. He knows a lot of the playing staff. That comes with its own problems, but I'm hoping that he already has a good idea of the playing staff, what works for them, etc., etc. So I'm really hoping that he can he can just give a little bit of a spark. I would like him to strip the style of football back, go a little bit more simplistic, be a little bit more direct in the final third. I'm not saying route one, but just try and ask more questions of goalkeepers and defenders, get into positions, take the shot, put balls into the box a little bit more, and commit, be a bit more direct with our build-up play. Just strip it back a little bit, because I would rather we go down swinging than go down knocking the ball around the back for 90 minutes. So I do think that their thinking behind Tom is what we've just said. Knows the players, knows the club, knows the staff. I do believe that he is a cheap hire because he's just going to be pulled through. I don't know if he's going to get extra pay, considering he's an interim head coach. He's not been signed as the head coach. I don't know how their pay spines work at Watford Football Club. No idea. But there's a part of me, what I like about this is the pull-through aspect. We've spoken a lot on the pod before about the academy and how we want more academy players to come through. Well, the formative years of my Watford supporting life was all about coaches coming through. Mackay, etc., etc. They were all players, became coaches, became managers, and we just had that nice through pull of people in the club who understood it and knows what the club is about and what the fans want.
Yeah.
So part of me really hopes that it works for him, and I really hope he does really well, because that would be a nice story to have that sort of connection with a head coach. And I think if he does do well, the fans are going to get behind him so much quicker than any other head coach previously.
Yeah, I completely agree. I hope he does well in the interim position. Obviously, no one knows how it's going to go. We don't know what football he's going to play, but I think the youth setup in general in the past season since he's taken over, is he under 21s coach or
he's under 18s?
Under 18s, yeah. I think they've had a decent upturn in form and have been playing well. Same with the under 21s. Charlie Daniels is involved with that. So I think they know the youth setup. We've always been saying we'd love it if more players came through with Andrews and the like. They know the players that they can bring through and strengthen in certain positions if they feel they need to. But yeah, there's not really much else we can say, is there? Because we don't know. I'm just hoping it does go well for him, and it's a good springboard for him in the future to whatever managerial position he goes into. But there's not much to add, is there? Really?
No, I think, and this will probably be this is all a hypothetical, and it will become a relevant conversation at the end of the season if he does stay on as the head coach. But I think what we were chatting about before recording with Clevs coming in is the board again will have to support Tom Cleverley. If he does become the head coach permanently, you're looking at somebody who has never managed a football team before, and you're all of a sudden putting them into a championship football club.
Yeah.
So with the greatest of respect to Tom, he's not going to have a strong understanding of recruitment, transfers, contracts. So he's going to need a recruitment team to come in and help him out and provide that support. So there is that risk then of everything that we said about Val giving a head coach leeway and a say and the kind of players, etc., that they want, that the Pozzos go, okay, Tom, but we're going to come in and help you, and we're going to put this recruitment team around you. Here are the players that we think is what you need, and then we're back to square one. So, I think that's something that is probably for a later discussion.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think it's probably worth bearing in mind as we progress, because I wouldn't want it to regress again. Hopefully we do get to that point. Hopefully Clevs has won, 5 of the last 9, and we're sat comfortably mid-table, playing wonderful football, and we're having this discussion.
Yeah, hopefully he comes in and does an amazing job. Yeah, I want to revise my start of the season prediction of 12th to 6th though. I'm now extending that to
fair.
16th to 12th. I think is a more fair assumption of where we are at the moment. Safe, but looking over our shoulders and thinking, you know what, we could be in for trouble if we don't pick up results. Between now and the end of the season.
Yeah.
It's very tough. Birmingham away, then we have literally everyone in the top 6. So it could be messy, but I'm hoping. I'm hoping Cleverley's got some stuff up his sleeves to give us that bounce between now and the end of the season. Okay then, James.
Well, I hope so. I mean,
we'll brighten the mood, won't we? We'll brighten the mood with Guess the Player. I think that's something that needs to happen.
I think that's all we can do. We've parked that now, haven't we? We've parked the manager chat, and we'll have something to carry us into Monday. With a spring in our step. So what is it? It's 15-13, isn't it?
Yes, 15-13 to you. I'm hoping for a 3-pointer to finally take the lead. I've been chasing you the whole time since we started this, and I'm ready to take the lead. It's more quick fire questions, isn't it? Because we're just doing it all in one go today. We felt that was best
didn't want to disrupt
the structure, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to disrupt the kind of the key stuff there. So, but it'll go back to normal service from next week, won't it, mate?
Of course it will. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Are you ready?
Clue
then?
1. I am ready.
So we're going to go for clue 1. Okay. Born in Kettering, I made 459 career appearances, scoring 12 goals. 72 of those appearances coming for the Hornets. I also had a brief spell on loan with that lot up the road.
A brief spell on loan. Okay. Well, there's no time frame on this, so that could be interesting. 459 career appearances. I'm going to assume they've retired now. And a spell on loan at Luton. I'm trying to think of some players that have played for both Watford and Luton. Nobody is immediately springing to mind.
Gonna have to press you for a name.
I really can't think of a name at the moment. Is there a pass? Can we pass?
You can pass, yeah.
Oh,
I don't know what the pass sound. I don't know what the pass sound is. Is this the pass sound?
Oh dear, yeah. We'll have to be that. Yeah, I'll have to give it a pass on that one.
Brilliant. Okay. All right, then clue number 2. With that in mind, my full career history includes Chesterfield, Bristol City, Luton on loan, Millwall, Watford, and Northampton Town. I signed for the Hornets in 2002, leaving in 2005.
Okay. Could I have a little revision of that? The
you may ask a question. Yes.
Just name the clubs again for me.
Yes. Chesterfield, Bristol City, Luton, Millwall, Watford, and Northampton Town.
Okay. This might be a bit out there, but I'm gonna guess Sean Dyche.
Got it.
Come on.
Got it.
Yeah.
Very good. I went for a head coach theme this week.
Okay.
Seeing as we're talking about Clevs, I thought that one would stick out. Clue 3 was famed for my gravelly voice and my disc beard. I became manager of Watford in 2011, guiding us to 11th, our best league finish in 4 years, before being sacked by Mr. Pozzo when he took over the club.
Wow. Yeah.
Replacing him with Gianfranco.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know he grew up in
managerial merry-go-round themed.
That's interesting. Yeah. Okay then. Decent. 15 all. Missed up the chance to to take the lead there, but you know, seeing as he signed for Watford when I was -3, that's a little bit unfair. I'll say that. I'll let everyone know that. But yeah, happy to type the scores.
Okay.
Love Daichi and that gravelly voice. Yeah. All right then, James. I feel like that it is time to end off the pod for this week. Give us a little prediction then for Birmingham away.
I mean, I don't want to. 2-1 Watford.
Okay,
With
nice
the
and
bounce
positive.
win.
I'm going to say 2-0. I'm going to say 2-0 Watford. Go on. Come on, the boys. Go up the Tom Cleverley. Yeah. Thank you very much for tuning in to the podcast for this week. We understand everyone's feeling a little bit flat around Watford, but yeah, we kind of wanted to come on here and have a chat, just sort of talk things over about the whole situation. And to be fair, yeah, I feel like it was the right thing to do to get rid of Ismael, and hopefully, like we said, Tom Cleverley can come through for the end of the season. Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys.
Absolutely.
And we'll catch you again after Birmingham away. Take care.
See you later, everyone.